A pound of flesh. In the quiet little town of Orvata lives a wicked man named Edobor. Edobor was the wealthiest man in the town, and because of his money, adding to his wickedness, people feared him. Even in the council of elders, Mr. Edobor was always right. He had the boys who operated for him. They did terrible things for him. Nobody challenges Mr. Edobor. He acts like the town's owner, and even the police respect him. When Mr. Edobor is against you, you don't fight. Go on your knees and beg or please him in any way you can. Also in the town were the Odell family. Mr. Odell died a long time ago, leaving behind a sick wife and 3 children. Because of their ill mother, the children have struggled all the time. Nosa was the eldest son, and Comfort was the second child. They were not educated because of their financial situation. However, when they were determined to put in all their efforts to give their younger brother, Osas, an education, their sick mother was overjoyed. Still, little did the family know that the decision would bring a lot of problems. Struggling to look after an ill mother and then pay their younger brother's way through school was not easy. They did their best, but their workload got heavier. During Osas's final year in secondary school, their mother, Amens, got worse. All their money had to go towards keeping her alive, and Osas's education was neglected. He wasn't going to school anymore. Mr. Edobor saw this and decided to take advantage of the situation. He chose to pay Osas's school fees, enroll him for the final year exam, and even give out some money to pay for Amens' medications. At first, the family were wary of Mr. Edobor's kindness because they knew he would come for a pound of flesh, but they were in need. The temptation was too sweet to refuse, and they accepted Mr. Edobor's kindness. But as luck would have it against the little family, a few months later, their mother died, leaving her 3 children behind. It was barely a week after the death of Amens when Mr. Edobor came knocking. He had come to take Comfort home as his wife number 5. He claimed all the money he had spent for the family was dowry paid in style for Comfort, and it was high time she came home. The family knew that the man's kindness would not go for free. They knew he would ask for a pound of flesh, but for a 21-year-old girl to be married to a man of 60 with a big belly, for wives, and over 20 children was not what the Odell family had expected. Mr. Edobor had money, but he was ugly and had body odor, and Comfort declared that over her dead body, she would marry Mr. Edobor. Nosa's pleading fell on deaf ears, and the following day, Mr. Edobor came with 12 of his boys to forcefully take Comfort home. Nosa and Osas watched helplessly as their young sister was bundled into the unknown. At Mr. Edobor's house, Comfort could not submit to the old and ugly man, so he raped her every night, and one day, after too much pain, in the dead of night, Comfort escaped through a window unknown to her that she was 3 months pregnant. The following morning, Mr. Edobor was mad and realized that Comfort had escaped via the window in her room. He looked for her everywhere and sent his boys to beat up Nosa and his little brother Osas, but they, too, didn't know the whereabouts of their sister. To them, the beating was not painful, but their missing sister was their only pain. Comfort was only 21 and had never left the town of Orvata for once, so where could she be? The Odell family spent 2 years searching and waiting for their sister to come home, but all to no avail. Every day was agonizing for Nosa and Osas as they waited, expecting to see their sister walking home to them. Then, one day, the policeman in charge of the case came with the news that a skeleton of a female almost fitting the description of Comfort had been discovered in the Ovir River by some fishermen. Inasmuch as Nosa and Osas didn't want to believe that their sister was dead, something in their minds told them the skeleton might be Comfort because she had claimed that she would rather die than be married to the old and wicked man, so she had decided to end it when there was no way out. She had nowhere else to go, and she couldn't have gone back home because the old man would find her there and force her back, so the Ovir River was close, just about 2 miles away from the town. No doubt she had decided to end it there. The police closed the case. To Nosa and Osas, the pain was unbearable. They couldn't forgive themselves for accepting Mr. Edobor's kindness, or their sister would still be alive. Nosa and Osas didn't enjoy living in Orvata town anymore. Seeing Mr. Edobor all the time increased their pain, so they moved to Benin City to continue their lives. It was hard. They were doing menial jobs to survive, carrying blocks on their heads in building sites around Benin City. They attended the Catholic Church in Mission Road, Benin, and they were very close to the priest due to their dedication to the work of God. When the priest got to know their plight, He stepped in and used his office to help them Nosa gain employment. Guinness Nigeria Limited. Ikpoba Hill Benin had Osas to continue his education at the College of Education, Ekiadola. One day, 3.5 years after the disappearance and death of their sister, Comfort, and heeding the advice of the priest, Nosa and Osas decided to organize a memorial service for their sister. It was the least they could do for her. She had to bear the pain and died for the family, so there was the need to give her a good farewell. The church was set, and a large, framed picture of Comfort was placed at the foot of the altar. It was on Saturday, and the church was not full to its capacity. Only about 50 people were in attendance. The priest mounted the altar and announced why they were gathered that Saturday afternoon. Nosa and Osas listened with heartache. This was the reality at which they finally admitted that their sister was not returning. "In the name of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Spirit," said the father, and he stopped short after he saw a beautiful young woman with a child and another man walking into the church. They were well dressed and looked wealthy. The man and the little child stopped in the middle of the aisle. Why the young lady walked straight to the foot of the altar, touched the framed picture, and tears rolled down her face. Then she turned to Nosa and Osas. "I am alive," she said through tears. "I am not dead." No words could describe the joy Nosa and Osas felt at that moment as they screamed her name simultaneously, Comfort, and rushed to embrace her. They held each other like forever, soaking their dresses with tears. At first, the church was confused, but a miracle was declared after the brother told them that their sister, who they were there for the sake of her memorial service, had just returned. The priest prayed, blessed the reunion, and let them be. There was much catching up. They returned to the hotel where Comfort and her husband-to-be had resided, and Comfort began narrating her ordeal. On the night she decided to leave her pain behind, she jumped out of the window and spent the night in the jungle. She was scared, but dawn came slowly without any harm, and then she wandered to the motorway and had a lift at the back of a trailer to Lagos. She only headed for Lagos because that was the destination of the trailer. It was in Lagos she discovered she was pregnant. She knew nobody there and was in the street, sleeping in an uncompleted building for 6 months and even feeding from the dustbin to survive. At some point, she got a job washing plates in the restaurant and had the opportunity to scrape and collect leftovers from customers. It was her best food then. But after delivery, she couldn't continue the job because she and her baby got seriously sick due to lack of care during pregnancy, so the woman she was working for took her to the hospital and abandoned her there. When the hospital was expelling her and her little girl for lack of funds to continue treatment, she sat at the gate of the hospital crying and begging for help. Her baby was in her hand, dying, and that was when the miracle happened. Mr. Ibud, a young Edo but Lagos-based businessman who had come to the hospital for his routine checkup, noticed Comfort crying inconsolably at the gate. Moved by her plight, he approached her and listened to her heartbreaking story. Touched by her resilience and the fact that she is an Edo girl, and the child's innocence in her arms, Mr. Ibud decided to take them under his wing. He paid for their medical treatment and ensured the mother and child were properly cared for. Over time, Comfort and her daughter recovered fully. Mr. Ibud saw potential in Comfort and encouraged her to learn a skill. With his support, Comfort took courses in fashion design and opened her fashion designing shop in Lagos, which is flourishing. As a token of gratitude, she remained close to Mr. Ibud, who became like an elder brother and best friend. Returning to Ovata for the first time in years, Comfort stood before her brothers with a heart full of love and a life story of pain, survival, and triumph. She introduced the man standing beside her as her fiancé, who had stood by her and supported her dreams. Her little daughter, who had been a beacon of hope through it all, held her hand and gazed up at her uncles with innocent, curious eyes. Nosa and Osas listened to Comfort's tale with awe and disbelief. The sister they had thought they had lost forever had returned, not as the broken girl who had fled in the night, but as a strong, independent woman who had overcome immense adversity. Their reunion marked a new beginning, a reminder that hope and love could prevail even in the darkest times. Mr. Ibud had come with a letter from the Commissioner of Police. The wicked Mr. Edobor was to be arrested for his crime against Comfort, but Nosa had told them that there was no need for that as the said Mr. Edobor had been hit with a massive stroke that renders him incapacitated. He can neither walk nor speak and cannot help himself with anything. The family awaits his demise, which is inevitable at the soonest time. If you like this story, please subscribe to our channel and help us share. Hit the like button. It encourages us to give you more.